I've been avoiding this topic for the longest time, but it is finally time to play the TOG 2, and today's video is going to be showcasing exactly what this monstrosity can do down at tier 6. Let's jump into some gameplay. Now then guys, any tank that makes the OI experimental look like a little toy tank is definitely a powerful one. Well, at least hopefully. But the TOG 2 in general is a big slab of hit points for the enemy team to munch on, and that's because it has 1400 hit points, the same as many tier 7 heavy tanks, and in fact a lot of tier 7 heavy tanks don't even have the same amount of hit points as this tank has. So yes, it is a tank that is very much the forefront of the opponent's mind, because they can just easily tear apart this tank. It has no armor pretty much, and therefore you end up kind of in this scenario where you're playing the tank mainly to dish out loads of DPM, but you receive so much damage so easily that you can't always be the one that is pushing forward and being the one that kind of dishes out the damage, which is why this tank can be painful. However, the good thing about the tank is of course the fact that it does have a very fast firing gun. Like, you are super quick to be able to get out that damage, and I certainly really enjoy that aspect of the tank. And you can see here we're able to plow rounds into this Crusader who's unfortunately been caught out, and we can just continually put rounds into him. 3.8 second reload, you're doing 150 damage per time if I take that right off the top of my head, which means yeah, you can be very powerful in a top tier game. But remember, this thing plays up to tier 7, I believe. It actually does have preferential matchmaking, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost certain that it does. So this thing can be very painful in like a low tier matchup, because those tier 7s rip you apart because you have genuinely got no armor and nothing bounces off of you because of the armor model of this tank, which means yeah, it's just not a fun one. However, it is a kind of meme within World of Tanks that is always kind of one of those tanks that everyone laughs at and has a joke about being so good, or at least so bad. However, talking about a tank that everybody hates is the Panzer V4, and you can see what we're doing to him, albeit he is a tank that can definitely rip us apart at the same time that we can rip him apart. Now, the Panzer IV-H there, hopefully we can get some shots into him, but if we can't, we can go after this OI. Now, we luckily hit the OI and set him on fire, but you can see the pain of the TOG 2, which is of course being very slow. And the slowness, it doesn't improve. You can't improve it. There is no possible way of you making this actually work, or at least not feel like it's so bad. However, one thing that we can do is try and get this light tank out of the game, even though this SU has decided that he's going to come around. And this is the key aspect of the TOG that's just terrible, is when you come up against tanks like this that are just going to rip you apart. And unfortunately for us, we are going to get ripped apart here, albeit this T50 has made the ultimate sacrifice, hopefully at least. And we can hope, the hammer actually takes us out from camping in the base, but no worry, we still didn't get a fire for effect for literally firing for the entire game, and that's pretty much the TOG. We're going to play some more gameplays, don't worry, and showcase why this is such a meme. Now then, after the absolute shambolic result that we had in the previous game, we're going to try and showcase a little bit more about what the TOG can do in this live replay. Of course, this is a map that we definitely don't want Malinovka, because you have to make the trek to the hill typically if you're a heavy tank, but in this replay we're going to try something novel and new within the TOG, and we're actually going to go to this ridge here that you can see on the canyon straight ahead where the STRV M42 is. And if we can get there successfully without being spotted, which is probably the biggest problem, because this thing is so huge, the concealment on this thing is terrible, which means that 90% of the time you get spotted and you take a lot of hits, since you have a max speed of 14 kilometers an hour, which to all intents and purposes is bloody awful, and you're not going to be able to really stay hidden or do much for the period in time when you're trying to get into the position, which makes the tank even worse. Not only does it get terrible armor, terrible kind of I don't even know, it's just so slow to the point where you genuinely don't impact the game till the game is almost decided. at the beginning, so like it's one of those that is just not particularly very fun to play, or at least have an impact and do new and novel things to kind of improve and make your team's chances of survival a little bit better. Now what you can see me doing is just going for blind firing at this bush. We see that there is actually someone sat there, so we can kind of just blind fire them, hopefully. Albeit, you know, sometimes the accuracy is kind of having you on, but we can continuously shoot. We obviously hit that guy, whatever it is, we don't know, but we hit him again, and this is exactly the scenario that you want to be in, where you're kind of just blind firing bushes, and luckily for us we get a couple of hits of damage. Now that the rover, who's for some reason YOLOing, has been taken out, means we can stay undetected for at least a little bit of time. The one thing on the enemy team that we all despise is the TOG's worst nightmare, and that is the M44, the tier 6 artillery piece, because the M44 pens you every single time because of the kind of armour on the top of the tank, and because it is so massive, you get penned. Yeah, every time. And this is why the TOG is just such a slab of just disgusting hit points that no one ever really likes to play. As much as people say they might like to play this thing, they don't. It's terrible. Most people just despise playing this tank, especially when the accuracy is like what it is. We've been fully aiming here. Obviously you can see that I know this map very well, so we can kind of go for these blind firing shots and stuff like that, which a lot of other people wouldn't know. You can see that we do actually spot the heavy tank number 6, which is the tank that we've been obviously hitting for the majority of this game, and we can just go for the tracking shot on him. Maybe he'll turn and give us the side, which he does, and we can finish him off. So very nice indeed. But it does look like we are losing this game because we've lost the hill area, and losing the hill area when you're in a TOG and you're in this position is diabolical, because what they can do is they can get on top of that hill, they can shoot you, and then it forces you to kind of push back down to where I am here, which is kind of the negative, I suppose, and that is exactly what's probably going to happen within this replay. Now I am moving forward just a little bit. We're going to try and kind of out DPM a lot of these tanks, and hopefully we'll be able to come away with it, but we never know. And of course with the shell velocity of some of these tanks, it's not particularly the nicest, but we've got to stay here, we've got to defend it, and we've got to do something. Otherwise if we push back, we're going to get hit by all of the TDs that are going to be sat there. Now we can just wait for the opponents to make the mistake of get spotted, and we can just plow rounds into them. Things like this KV-1, we can kind of demolish him, and unfortunately for him he's been tracked, which hopefully we'll get the next tracking shot. We don't manage to, but that's not the biggest problem since we set him on fire, which is lovely, and that is exactly what you want. The stupid IKV has decided that he wants to throw himself away, because why not? Idiot. Don't know why you do that. Obviously we don't want to bounce off of him, we don't want to take another one either, and now we're in a pretty diabolical scenario, but hopefully we'll be able to still come out on top. Now the T40, or the P43 I should say, is kind of still sat there. We can remove him as well. Now there's now an M6, and this is what the play in the TOG is primarily all about. It's just like 90% of the time people just YOLOing you because you're a TOG and they think that they're going to get away with it, and most of the time they don't. And like 90% of people like this M6 think that they can just YOLO. Yes, you do have a nice gun, but I can still remove your hit points, so get out of the game and get back to the garage where you belong. Now it's created a nice little wreck as the third or fourth people decide to YOLO me, the Stug. Now hopefully our team can actually support us here. I'm not going to be able to take any hits from this guy, which means that it would be very painful. If they can actually get him, please get him, please get him. Yes, they do. Lovely, lovely work. Now we can focus on this VK who's been sat out in the open. Hopefully he doesn't notice that we're actually here before we can take him out, which would be nice. It looks like he doesn't, and that is perfect. Now we've managed to somehow come away with a decent result in this matchup. Now you cannot expect this in any sense or regard, but we've managed to do it. Now hopefully our tank destroyer will help us out with the KV-1, because the KV-1 is a pretty mauler. I'm hoping that our tank destroyer will please, come on, please. We're going to have to spot him. to get some damage on him. Hopefully we'll be able to out DPM him. Maybe we will. Oh, he's got the big gun. That means maybe he'll miss. Maybe he'll miss. Maybe he'll miss. Please, please, please. No. Our tank destroyer doesn't manage to help us out, but we still picked up 2,753 damage, and you can see just the amount of wrecks surrounding the TOG. It just takes so long for them to be able to kill you that you can have results like this, and that is where the TOG is just a meme. And unfortunately, it would have been really nice if this Panzer would have been able to hit this KV-1 that was YOLOing for so long, and if we didn't bounce that one round, we'd have been fine again, and then we could have probably have carried against the T-67 and the M4 there, because yeah, we probably would have been fine. Now the Absolution, hopefully he can win the game, and I'll join you at the end. Now then, unfortunately for us, we don't win because the Panzer SFL decided to ram an M4 at the end of the game when he could have actually just one-shot him, which was a little bit salty considering we managed to still make it onto the podium, being on the tank that lost in the game and having picked up 2,756 damage, 4 enemies destroyed, 1,189 base experience on a loss, which is massive, and of course a mastery badge, high caliber bruiser, and actually we're probably one of the hardest ones of fire for effect within World of Tanks console in the TOG, because you just have so many hit points. But hopefully this video showcased the kind of meme value of the tank, whilst also showcasing in the first replay what typically happens to the TOG and why it's not so fun to play. So hopefully you did enjoy this one. Of course, you saw me actually playing in the TOG for once, and yeah, if you want to check out any more videos and gameplay and tank reviews, then check out the right hand side of the screen, which showcases the playlist, and of course on the left hand side of the screen we'll have various different gameplays and stuff as we go along. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you there. Goodbye.